there's so much we can do with nutrition and lifestyle to kind of really feel amazing. You can work with your cycle, you can work in sync with and in harmony with our hormones rather than being at odds with our hormones. You know, we hear people saying like, oh, she's hormonal.
On today's episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the lovely Pauline Groussaud. So can you share a little bit with our listeners about your business and the unique aspects that set it apart?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Pauline. My business is called Find Your Inner Bloom, and I'm a nutritional therapist and health coach, and I help women navigate hormonal imbalances so that they can feel happy, healthy, in harmony with their bodies, and they can just achieve whatever dreams they want without feeling like their health is holding them back in any way. So I help them through nutrition and lifestyle changes. And really it's anything. So when I say hormonal imbalances, it can be anything that can be to do with the menstrual cycle, so irregular periods, heavy or painful periods, but it can be other things as well. So it can come through as anxiety, brain fog, or mood swings, irritability. It's not just the reproductive system. Our hormones affect our whole body. So it can manifest in various symptoms. And so I look at the person as a whole and try and figure out where those imbalances are coming from. I use my nutritional therapy as a way to kind of hone down what the root causes might be. So it might just be that it's the female hormones, but it might be linked to something else. So women might also experience gut issues. And so that might have a knock-on effect, because if we're not digesting the food that we're eating properly, we're not absorbing the nutrients that then would be used to make our hormones and everything else in our body. So I kind of do a little bit of detective work to find out what each person, where they're at, and figure out what the plan would be for them. And then I bring in the coaching to implement that. So it's one thing to kind of figure out, oh yes, you need to do this, this and that. But then it's then helping them implement that in their life and finding the ways that work for them, what their preferences are, their lifestyle, what type of exercise that comes into it as well, and what they like to do, and kind of figure out and help them along that journey to put that into place. So then they start to feel really good on the inside, and then they can then go on to do whatever they want really, and whatever dreams they've got, whether that's thriving at work or starting a new hobby or a new business, maybe even, it's being healthy on the inside so you can do what you want on the outside and don't feel held back by all those little niggly, annoying symptoms, and you can just go out there and do your thing.
And having someone beside you walk that journey with you and just to guide you and to just say, you're doing great, and, educating you on what you need to do next to feel even better. I think that's just so important, because being left to your own devices, sometimes you can slip and you can put yourself last on the list. And especially as a woman, I think that's really, really important. So what inspired you then to go into this niche?
So my journey started with my own health, and I have experienced hormonal imbalances and infertility. So I struggled to conceive, and it took me just over 3 years to conceive my little girl. And at the time, I was told I had unexplained infertility, and I thought, well, there must be more to it. You just haven't quite figured out what it is that's going on inside my body. And so I went on my own little health investigations and figured out for myself what I needed to do and the changes I needed to make in my life, and eventually managed to conceive naturally. And so at that point I thought, I really want to help other women do the same for themselves. I want to help them with the education I've my personal experience, but then I went on to retrain with everything I've learned along the journey. I want other women to do it for themselves. So it's why my company is called Find Your Inner Bloom, because I'm helping them find their path, whether it is fertility or it's any kind of hormonal imbalance. Whether it's painful periods, it could be a condition like PCOS, or it could be perimenopause as well. It's anything like that that's related to our female hormones. I can help them find their version of their inner bloom.
It's really person-centred then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is lovely. And I think there's so many women walking around who feel if they went to the doctors and got blood tests, for example, clinically, they'd be fine. And yet we have this, it's not about being clinically okay on paper, is it? It's very much about those levels can be so finely balanced and just below normal range or just within normal range. But actually, we want to be functioning optimally, not just, clinically okay. And there's a real difference in that, isn't there?
Definitely. When you get those tests, they just, the ranges are generally to feel good. That was what you aim for. But yeah, optimal is what we want, especially if we are trying to conceive. You want to be at the point where you're at your best. So certainly when I had some of those tests done, my vitamin D levels were fine, but they were really quite on the lower side of that normal range. So when I saw that, even though the doctor said, oh yeah, you're fine, I just thought, no, okay, this is something I can work with. I can either step outside in the morning and get some morning sunshine and throughout the day, safe sun exposure or supplementation. But it's kind of looking into all those details and figuring out, okay, where can we make those small improvements through nutrition and through lifestyle and get
and where would you or what would you suggest if someone's listening to the show now thinking, this is me, that doctor's just told me that, like, where would you suggest that they can start in their own journey?
I would say understand your own body. So tune in and figure out what's normal for you. Learn about the menstrual cycle because that's obviously going to tell us, that gives us a lot of clues as to what is happening in terms of our hormones, because obviously our hormones fluctuate naturally between the first half and the second half. But then we've got clues within that. Might be your periods. How are they manifesting? Are they heavy? Are they light? Are they too light? Maybe that can be an issue. But also mid-cycle as well. When we ovulate, we've got other clues there as well. So is your temperature changing when you're ovulating? Is it too low at the start? Is it high enough when you see that temperature shift? Is your cervical mucus the right consistency? Are you seeing that enough? So it's about noticing all these little clues. And the more a woman can understand her body and starts to track all these things, we then recognize the patterns, and that's what then will kind of dictate what next steps that person can take.
And then get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that kind of detective work for people. That's what I love to do.
Because that seems like a lot of work as well, in terms of if you're not used to tracking your cycle, like you could prolong your journey instead of getting in touch with someone. And I think there's no embarrassment, there's no judgment, there's no, about getting in touch with someone and saying, look, I haven't got a clue, but the doctor's told me this and I know it doesn't feel right. I know there's something else there. Like, no woman should ever feel like she can't reach out about her body, to a professional.
Yeah. And, I do provide that education, that help, because this is not something we were taught at school. A lot of women don't know how their menstrual cycle works. I have friends, I'm in my mid-40s, and I have friends who same age who say, I don't even know when I ovulate. I don't know. And I even said to a friend recently, you can only get pregnant during about 5 days each month. And she was quite surprised. She wasn't aware of that. So if someone's not really too sure where to start, then come to me and I can explain all these things. I can help you track your cycles, what to look out for, how to do it. And I'll kind of go through a process step by step to get.
Do you think, unless there's something wrong, women just go through life, oh, it's fine, everything's okay, I'm not getting really bad pains, I'm not overbleeding, I'm not, nearly divorced every week, if there's no problem, women are just sailing through just as if, everything is okay. But like what we've said before, you actually don't know if there's something wrong, with a light period. Should our periods be light? Should they be like 2 days? It's about educating even when there's not a problem. It's about looking at that. And I think as women, unless there's a problem, we just go, it's fine. It can stay over there because I've got too many problems and challenges to be dealing with.
Yeah, and I guess it's about feeling your best as well. You might not realise that you're just suboptimal. And certainly when I was trying to conceive, I thought I was fine. I didn't think I had any health issues, but obviously infertility is the kind of result of these things that weren't going right. So that was the red flag. I was like, okay, there is something behind the scenes. And I kind of dug into that. I understand a lot more about about the tracking and all of that. And I realised, okay, I didn't notice. I was spotting for a few days before my period. I thought that was normal. I thought that was just me. But no, that in itself is a little clue. So when I sort of think about how I used to feel then compared to how I feel now, and I feel, much healthier than I did back then. I didn't feel unhealthy, but I wasn't my best at that point. And there's so much we can do with nutrition and lifestyle to kind of really feel amazing. And then that can then allow you to do other things because you're not sort of held back by all these things. And you can work with your cycle, you can work in sync with and in harmony with our hormones rather than being at odds with our hormones. We hear people saying like, oh, she's hormonal.
And why is that a negative connotation? Because I say this to my husband all the time. He throws that term around. If I am even slightly like tetchy, and he will say, oh, are you a bit hormonal? Well, love, even if I was... like, how is that helpful? Like to be, and it's like it's a red rag to a bull. Like, I'm like, even if that was the case, why would you say that? And actually, no, I just think that you're being a real pain in the bum at the moment, and it's nothing to do with my hormones. It's to do with you and your behaviour. I feel like we're having a bit of marriage guidance now, aren't we, on here? I'm outing him, sorry. But I think, how do we overcome that negative connotation around
everybody,
hormonal?
Yeah.
Oh, you're hormonal. Well, I'm a hormonal being.
Yeah, that's part
I'm driven by them.
Absolutely. We've got this beautiful ebb and flow of hormones. It's not a negative thing. It's just part of who we are as women. And talking about it, the more we educate our partners, our sons, everyone as well, they'll understand that that's just a normal part of how we feel. And it just means that we might just need a bbit of extra help in the house. Might just, if your partner does notice, maybe you could just be like, okay, is there anything I can do? Or you could say like, oh yeah, I realise I'm being a little bit off balance at the moment. Do you mind just doing this for me? And I just need to rest for a few minutes and then I can come back, I'll feel loads better in a few days and then I can,
I
Absolutely.
have to try that. I'll take to me bed for 3 days. Sorry, I am hormonal. You're right, my sweetheart. I am hormonal. I shall go to bed for 3 days and I'll feel brighter then.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
Yeah. But I think we should. We just should lean into
are you
how we
leading
feel.
that revolution?
Yeah, why not?
Please. Take to your bed.
Yeah, we have got these different energies at different times and sometimes we do need to just rest and self-care so we can come back stronger.
Yeah.
It's our time to recharge at that point so then we can bounce back and be even more amazing than the following months.
I think the answer here is communication.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough communication, especially within relationships, whether that be career, at home. I think as women, we try to be everything to everyone all the time. So that when that doesn't happen and when you are no longer superwoman in the home or in your career, people
because
notice
I'm hormonal.
and people don't like that because it's change and it's a change of your behaviour. So if you are a woman who's masking, all of these hormones and the things that you're feeling and you're just getting on with it, and you're just going through and trooping on, then when you're like that little bottle of pop and when you do explode, people go, whoa, I'm not used to this. Like, this is a change. What's going on? Something must be happening. And I think it's about time women are honest and open about, what? I am, I'm cramping a little bit. I'm not feeling great. I'm a little bit tired. So this belongs to you, and this is what I'm going to take. I'm going to take some time for me. And I just think we're not very great at doing that because when you step away from something, especially around the home, you step away and it's like you're creating more jobs for later. So if you don't do that straight away, then it mounts up and no one seems to see that washing that needs doing or that. But at the end of the day, that all comes back to you for not communicating and saying, well, actually, this is a family home and we've all got X, Y, and Z to do. If we allow our family to do that and behave in that way, then, you can't be, when people don't do it because you're not. Sometimes you've got to be a leader, haven't you? And you've got to instruct people and you've got to take the time. And it's so much easier said than done. In my own home, I'm exactly the same. I'll just do that because it'll take someone else 3 hours. They won't do it the right way, and then I'll have to do it again. But I think it's about just being a little bit vulnerable. And I don't think as women we're very good at being vulnerable, because like we've said in previous shows, it's about trying to be masculine and trying to, we can do everything all the time because we are women and we are strong and we are actually, sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable and we just want some chocolate, sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
Yeah, that's it. And I think we need to recognise it in ourselves, just notice when we do feel different and give ourselves permission to have a bit of self-care, a bit of self-love when we need it. Often we do just power on because we do live in a masculine world where we are expected to, be all the things all the time. But actually we can just give ourselves permission just to slow down and just look after ourselves so that we can take care of other people better. We know this, it goes back to saying, when you're on a plane and say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you look after others. And we forget that. But if we can notice how we do feel different throughout the month, then we can start to change things and change our behaviours towards other people. And even just knowing that, I tend to get quite anxious in kind of the third week of my monthly cycle, and I notice that, but then that makes me cranky because I feel like, people around me don't understand what's going on inside me. Whereas if I now that I know that, I kind of notice it and I think, okay, it's okay. It's just that's normal part of my monthly cycle. What can I do? Can I go out for a walk in nature to kind of manage my anxiety? Can I do more meditation, breath work, that sort of thing? Can I let my partner know as well? We're talking about that. Can I explain that to my daughter? And all these things. And it goes back to giving ourselves permission to be who we need to be in that moment, to do the things we want to do.
I love that.
Yeah. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
It's a tricky one because I kind of wondered when I saw the question, I sort of think, be remembered by the public or be remembered by my family? And it's two different things really, isn't it? But I kind of thought, how do I want to be remembered by my daughter as she grows up? And I think I'd love to, if I had to remember, be someone who followed her dreams, who just decided to do something and build a business and just go for it because it's something that I'm passionate about. It feels aligned. It feels like it's my calling. And I want to show her that we can just achieve our dreams if we want to, if we just go for it and do that. So I'd love for her to do the same sort of thing in her life, but that she would remember me as that, as someone who follows their dream.
And what about business?
And do their business. Yeah.
What about in your business? What
in
would
my
you
business,
like to be remembered for?
In my business, I'd love for people to remember me as someone who has helped other women with their dreams as well then, but as someone who openly talks about the menstrual cycle, hormones, fertility, all, menopause as well, all of these things that have been up to now quite hush-hush and we're not allowed to talk about these things, it's taboo. But I think it's time to open that conversation.
Definitely.
So I'd like to be remembered for someone who took part of that conversation with all the other women who are doing amazing work out there and talking about these things.
I think you definitely will be. If you could spill the tea with anybody, who would you choose and why?
So for me, I'd quite like to spill the tea with my grandmas. Now, they've both passed away, unfortunately. But I wish I could kind of go back in time and have that cup of tea with them and ask them, what was it like for them growing up as a woman? What challenges did they face? What was even maybe like tips and tricks and things to help with their hormones or whatever, old wives' recipes, things like that they would have had that kind of knowledge back at that point, and have a conversation with them both.
Do you know any of them already? Like looking back now, do you know any old wives, like tales around periods and stuff that you can share? Do you know any? Trying to think of anyone just never spoke about periods.
Only that we've become so medicalised. It's become such a medicalised thing where I think if you look evolutionary, there has been a lot of we're talking now about self-care and this sort of new wave of people who are really working with their cycle. And I think that if we go back a long time ago, before women were expected to do and be so much, there was that, the red tent that came out, wasn't there, during, and you resided in the red tent, during your period. And I think there was a lot more self-care going on and a lot more understanding from everybody around women and hormones and all of that sort of thing at a certain point in time. And then as we've industrialized and moved forward, and women have been expected to take up roles and being sold the dream of being able to have it all and be it all, that's been lost. And that's probably been lost over the last 50, 60 years. And it's come back again now. Yes. Like we've almost come this full circle, haven't we? Where it's now very much on the agenda again. And we're talking about how women need to be seen and do things differently to men.
Do you think that's because women, when we were, it was a sacred thing to have a child, and when a woman had a child, it was very celebrated and it was a blessing and it was this like, wow, and you were very nurtured and taken care of. But now it's like a conveyor belt, isn't it? It's just like, oh, she's pregnant. It's that's what we do. That's what women do. Just get on with it type of thing. There's no vulnerability around being pregnant either now. Like you go to work, you do all of the normal things, you look after the other children, and you get that maternity leave, and it's I just don't think it's the same. I think in other countries, even still to the day, a woman who is pregnant is very taken care of, and I just don't think here in the UK we take care of our pregnant women as much as what we should. And as a result of that, they're not taking care of themselves.
Yeah, and I think, a long time ago, women would have helped each other a lot more. We had that kind of community where we would take care of the baby when someone who would have just given birth, or even during, going back to the menstrual cycle, our cycles are, some women will sync, some women will be out of different sync. And there's a kind of natural reason for that, is that the women who are on their period, who feel like they have not got that energy at that point, who just want to rest, they would be helped by the women who are in their ovulation phase, who have got that energy, who can, do all those things for them. And then it would be the reverse the following 2 weeks. And, they were much more in tune with their cycle and with child rearing as well, and helping each other out with babies and with children. So I think we've lost a lot of that wisdom, unfortunately. But I think it probably will come back. I think we've got more and more things like women's circles where we share these things and these ideas. And
I think there needs to be more. There definitely needs to be more support. I think we're all too busy to give that to anyone, myself included. If a friend's pregnant, it's like you've just got your own life to live, and you check in with them, and I think it's about that nurturing side now, and women especially just being more mindful that, it mightn't be physical, they mightn't be physically in need of support, but emotionally, mentally, you've got to be there to support, a friend, family member who is with child, because it's hard work.
It is, yeah. And
it's hard.
And it's about asking for help as well. When I had my baby, I just didn't feel like I could. I just thought you had to just do it all on your own. Well, otherwise you felt like a failure, and I don't know why, because it makes no sense really. It's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. And even when you've never done this before, if you think about it, when you are first pregnant and you're having your first child, you've never done that before. Your body's never done it before. But it's like, I'm fine. I'm growing this baby inside me. Everything's changing, my shape, my size, I'm feeding it. It's my responsibility, to keep this baby healthy and happy. And I just think it's like, wow. And then we go through birth, and it's like, how is birth just not a trauma in itself, to deliver a child, however, C-section, again, it's a birth, and it's such a change in your life. And I just love the fact that you're all for this movement of let's all support one another. And even if someone's not asking for support, swoop in there and support her. So I've got a friend who might need support.
Okay.
Yeah, with her tea making abilities.
All the way
Mentioned
around.
no names, client confidentiality. But if you were to make the perfect cup of tea, as a closing tradition on the show, we do ask all of our guests, how would you make it? And is there a reason behind?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't have milk in my tea. I just have it black these days.
Yeah.
But if I were to make it for somebody else, I would put the tea bag, hot water, leave it in there for a bit, take the tea bag out, and then put a bit of milk.
So I will pass my details
And
on
is
to
there a
you as
reason
well.
why? Or is it just because that's the right way?
Because it just tastes better that way.
I do make a nice cup of tea though. You do enjoy my cups of teas.
Now I've taught you the right way.
Yeah. I have to actually have PG tips in my house as well. I'm a Yorkshire tear, but Cal is a PG tipper.
I'm a PG
so I have to actually have a tub of mine and a tub of Cal's just to make sure she gets that perfect cup of tea.
Lovely.
And when she's in ours, I just have the PG tips because I'm still trying to fulfill that education for her.
I love that. Total opposite, but absolutely fine. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You are a team Cal, but that's okay. There's still time and there's still hope. I will make you the perfect. Oh no, can't.
No,
probably not.
Okay, I'll make someone else the perfect cup of tea. I might hit your mum and just like hit her with a cup of tea and be like, try that, Val, and do a taste.
She's
on my side.
And see.
I think we definitely need to do who makes the best tea. Maybe that's something we introduce to the show. We just have 2 cups of tea for guests to try and see which one's the best. Maybe that's the end question.
You just want to try and fool people into your.
Well, I'm getting a bit nervous now because you've won 3 of the guests today. I am getting quite nervous, but thank you so much. You've been an incredible educator today on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.